everyone, and welcome to the 10th edition of Everything Outdoors Oregon podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Smith. And as I talked several episodes ago, I was really excited for episode 10 because this is the one that I was going to kind of dive into something that I'm going to say I don't have a ton of facts on. And I don't think anybody has a ton of facts on. So today we're going to talk about the man, the myth, the legend himself, possibly herself, Bigfoot. Well, that's right. Bigfoot, also known in the Pacific Northwest as Sasquatch. So here we go. I did a lot of research on this one. This is something that people have talked about. I can remember as a young kid, people swapping Bigfoot stories, camping in the backyard at night, or out camping, talking Bigfoot stories. It's something that's been around for a long, long time. There's even there's Native American legends about Bigfoot. And also the name Sasquatch. So, first of all, I want to say Sasquatch is the original name of this human-like creature that may or may not run around the woods of not only the Northwest, but the whole world. There are sightings, claimed sightings of Bigfoot in 49 out of our 50 states. The only state that does not claim to have a sighting is the state of Hawaii. So every other state has had a minimum of, I would say, 10 to 12, and some states in the hundreds. So, all right. Bear with me on this one because this is a really interesting topic. The name Bigfoot was coined in 1958. The Humboldt Times in Northern California coined this after a road crew discovered a series of massive footprints near their work site. All right. So how do you confirm this? What is this? What are these? Are these footprints that somebody has put out there in the mud to kind of get everybody going, kind of raise this big scare, keep people out of the woods, maybe out of their hunting areas, their whatever? No one really knows. And this is one of the many interesting things about this whole Bigfoot topic is, does he or she or not exist? So I'm going to wait until the end of this, my last few minutes, I should say, of this podcast to give you my personal opinion. And I am a person that's been in a lot of places in the Northwest, into some pretty deep country where I feel like if one existed, I should be right there on his front doorstep. But I'll save that for later. So I wrote down just a ton of notes here. So I'm going to kind of be bouncing back and forth. So when I first Googled Bigfoot, basically what is Bigfoot? Commonly referred to as Sasquatch, is a large, hairy, mythical humanoid creature said to inhabit the forests in North America, particularly the Pacific Northwest. Well, that's our home. We are right in the heart of the Pacific Northwest. Here's the crazy thing, is scientists say there is just a lack of biological proof. So they have taken in many, many, many castings of footprints. None seem to match the other type deal. They have taken in hair samples that people have found out and about. They claim this has got to be it, these long dark hairs. They bring them in. Once again, no scientific evidence. These hares always turn out to be bear or the dark mane of a bull elk, basically anything other than a Sasquatch type creature. Um, so with that, a lot of the videos that you have seen, how come there's not a clear one? I've seen a lot of videos. I've done a lot of research on this. There's all kinds of stuff on YouTube and everything. And there's videos out there, but not one of them is just nice and dialed in and clean and clear to give anyone like, bam, that's 100%. That is something other than a big tall dude dressed up in some sort of an outfit out there and his buddies are taking the video playing. Oh, look at that. They're just not the scientific evidence. So right now I'm going off based off of science. So the scientists, they say the video's footprints have been written off as hoaxes and pranks. Now, my hope is that I have a viewer or a listener that's going to say, I've got a picture, I've got a video, I've got something, because I would love to see it. I really would. But once again, we're going to save my view on all of this until the end here. There is in Oregon, it's in the town of Boring, Oregon. I'm sure many of you know where that is. If not, it's somewhere up in there above like Gresham, Troutdale, headed up towards the Mount Hood area. There is a North American Bigfoot Center. So possibly, I've never been there. It's a store, maybe a museum, maybe all kinds of, probably some castings of these large feet. The hair, whatever, I'm sure some great stories float around that place. So, man, it's just a real tough one. I can tell you this, that in the Pacific Northwest, the state of Washington has the most sightings, and not just in the Pacific Northwest, but the whole country. The state of Washington leads substantially in Bigfoot sightings. So I could kind of see that. You get up into parts of Washington, up there in the Washington Cascades and into some of those rainforests. Pretty thick country where a lot of people don't go, which would be where I would think one would be living. It has become an incredible money-making industry. It is a Bigfoot, I will say, not it. Bigfoot is a multi-million-dollar industry. Everything from movies, if any of you remember the late 80s Harry and the Hendersons, filmed up in the Seattle area. I'm not going to give the story. It's a great, great, great movie. It's full of laughter, some tears. It'll really, really engage you, and you'll really enjoy Harry and the Hendersons. Not scary. Great movie to sit down with your kids or grandkids and watch. Harry and the Hendersons. But once again, multi-million-dollar, they made millions of dollars on that film. The big Ford monster truck, Bigfoot, big blue monster truck, right when monster trucks were getting big. Bigfoot was a big one. Now there's Bigfoot bars, Sasquatch. I just saw on TV the other day, some type of deodorant, Sasquatch deodorant. So the name itself, Bigfoot and Sasquatch, have just, it's like I said, it's a multi-million-dollar industry, and it's just crazy. So, and not just here in the Pacific Northwest, But I'll throw another name at you. Sorry, I'm turning pages here on my notes because I took a pile of notes for this one. Um, the Pacific Northwest is where this all started, I will say, or I should say, got the most famous. But going around the world, I'm going to throw out countries and names. Of course, I already mentioned Pacific Northwest, Bigfoot, Sasquatch. In the southwest of the United States, the skunk ape. Okay. In Virginia, the wood ape or the wood booger. There we go. So, Arkansas call them I believe I'm saying this right, the Fouke monster, Fouke. In Ohio, they call him the grass man. Central Asia, the Almasty. China, the Yiran. Australia, he is the Yowie. And then in the Himalayas, as we all have seen, the abominable snowman, the big white version of our Sasquatch Bigfoot, is the Yeti. Now, I'm sure by now, Yeti is a company that coolers, well known for their incredible coolers for holding ice, a bag of ice or a block of ice for literally, I've had a block of ice sit in one for a week. They're double insulated coolers. There's several that have come after, so many. I can't even think of the name. Pelican and Grizzly, and now even Igloo got into the double insulated uh, cooler market. And not just the coolers, but things like I carry around one of these, always put my water, my Gatorade in this. This is my Yeti somewhere on here. I don't know, probably on right there. Bam, Yeti. So anyway, that right there in its own is another multi-million dollar industry, the coolers. So, with several businesses, the catchy name has led to, it's a great business model. And we'll probably see more and more and more, I would imagine. Um, so, it's what you believe in. And I'll say this. I will say, when I was in the fishing guide business, that was a really common topic on the boat. You'd be out there fishing, you'd be rowing down a river or trolling in an area, and it was always fun, especially with newer clients. They would, that topic would come up. Hey, what do you think of Bigfoot? What's your take on Bigfoot? Well, I, know better than to answer a question with another question, but the first part of me would always want to say, well, what's your take on it? And then we can compare notes. So we had a lot of great conversations about Bigfoot, heard a lot of very interesting stories, and very, very many of them sounded, my gosh, very believable. I mean, they had all three hooks in me, like, all right, this thing's real. And then I heard others that I could pretty much feel like I could probably wash that one out. That's bunk. That's not the real deal. And then here's something that's real fun. Uh, the guy that created my logo for Everything Outdoors Oregon podcast is a gentleman named Tony. He owns Courtwear right down here on Commercial Street, and Tony helped Leanna and I create Fish Cute back when we were doing Fish Cute for women. Clothing, hats, sweatshirts, t-shirts, all that kind of stuff. So when I first thought about this podcast, I thought, who am I going to have design me a fun, catchy logo for Everything Outdoors Oregon? So I went to Tony, bounced my ideas off Tony. Of course, he's the creator. He sits down at his computer and comes up with all kinds of fun stuff. So he sent me later in the day, he sent me this, and I'm going to hold it up here. But you can see right there in the picture, I'll try to bring it in a little closer, but that's Sasquatch, Bigfoot. So that was his I said, hey, I want a guy fishing. I want a tent, people camping. I want a big bull elk. I want river water, Mount Hood in the background, lots of green, beautiful trees. That was Tony's. That was his addition to Everything Outdoors Oregon label. Was the Sasquatch, and I loved it. I thought that's perfect because that someday is going to be something I'm going to do a topic on, and here we are. Today is that day. So, with that being said, I will give you my opinion on Bigfoot. Uh, and like I said, I have had the opportunity to be around a lot of great outdoorsmen. My grandfather, back in the 80s and 90s, flew for the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife in Eastern Oregon doing what they call telemetry, which is they'd bring up their antennas and stuff, and he would fly over areas and they would look for uh, collared elk or deer or bear or whatever that they had tranquilized, put a collar on them, and they'd fly around and they'd locate these collared animals and they would trace where they've been, where they're going, kind of get their life cycle of what these animals do. So he always had a couple ODF and W guys in the plane with him. And I talked to one of those gentlemen at one of my father's sportsman shows back when he was doing sportsman shows, Northwest Trails Outdoor shows. And I said, what's your take on Bigfoot? I said, you're a man that's been in an airplane, you've flown all over Eastern Oregon, you've seen it all. And he said, Trevor, I just don't buy it. He said, we've covered too much ground. How come we wouldn't see him? We've seen everything that we believe walks and crawls and swims in the state of Oregon. We've never seen anything to confirm or to even get us excited like, hey, what was that? And going home scratching your head too. So that was one reason. That always sticks in my mind. But now this was, like I said, this conversation took place probably in the late 90s. Nowadays, hunters have gotten so much more advanced, in my opinion, than they ever have. The use of trail cams. Okay, a trail cam, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a device that you take to the woods, to your hunting area, literally strap it onto a tree, and it works off of lasers. And as soon as anything breaks that laser, bam, takes a picture. Freeze frame right there. So, if you set that off next to a water hole or a main trail where a lot of animals are using, anytime something walks through, breaks that plane, pop, picture. So it's a great way for hunters to say, hey, there's some big bucks, there's some big bulls, big bears, whatever in that area. That's an area I want to focus on and hunt. So there's literally probably thousands of those scattered just in the woods of Oregon alone for hunters to get information on what's moving around in my area that I plan to hunt this fall. So you would think at some point in time, something would cross one of those. I understand they could be extremely intelligent, but are they intelligent enough to know that there's a camera strapped to that tree 10 miles off the nearest road? Because that's how deep some of these guys go. I know guys that put on 40, 50-pound packs and just go way back in the middle of nowhere to do their hunting, which seems to me like would be an epic spot for a Bigfoot or Sasquatch to live. So I feel like trail cams would give it away. I just feel like satellites these days, and I'm not trying to poo-poo the whole thing. This is one man's opinion. Okay, this is just my opinion. But like I said, I have heard some really, really promising stories. I've heard things in the woods myself. I heard something one day in a drift boat on the Sandy Am up in the hillside that I'll never know to this day what it was. But I mean, it makes your mind go, dang, what the hell was that? And maybe. But I'm going to stick with the scientists myself and say until somebody can bring something to the table that's a little more convincing, it's a no for me. Sorry if I disappointed or crushed anybody, but that, like I said, that's one man's opinion. There's a lot of theories out there. There's a lot of stories out there, and some of them, like I said, are very, very convincing. But we just need the hard truth. I need the hard truth to be convinced. So anyway, it's been a really, really fun topic to look into. Like I said, watched a lot of videos, and some of them, I mean, gosh, you want to go, yeah, that's it. But how come we can't zoom that camera in a little bit better? And how come all of these footprints, taken out of the same apparently path, nothing matches up to one another? Anyway, that's my take on Bigfoot. Your opinion is your opinion, and I love it either way because it has, when it comes down to everything, I mean, look at the money that people have made off of this name, off of this legend, this mythical legend that may or may not roam apparently all over the world, but particularly the Pacific Northwest is supposedly the home to Sasquatch. So that's what I have for the Bigfoot episode 10. Some of you may find it super interesting, exciting. Some may go, but man, I got my theory. And that's great because it's great that we all have different opinions on things. But now you know mine. So anyway, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed this. If you do, please like, please subscribe. And we're just going to keep on going. And we're going to get out, like I said, this summer. We're going to do some fishing. We're going to do some camping. We're going to get out in the outdoors. So stay tuned to Everything Outdoors Oregon. And we will just keep bringing the episodes week by week. So thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Hat, sunscreen, sunglasses, and of course, when you're on the water, wear your PFDs, personal flotation devices. There's no reason for anyone to drown. So take care, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm out.